The day broke under an uneasy sky as air raid sirens howled across Israel, warning of what was coming long before anyone saw it. By mid-morning, the Iranians had unleashed an estimated 150 ballistic missiles, a torrent of steel arcing over the horizon and slamming into Israeli territory with deafening force. Some warheads tore into frontline air bases, others cratered intelligence outposts, and still more ripped through logistics depots that feed the IDF's war machine. Smoke columns rose like black pillars, staining the blue canopy overhead and casting a grim shadow on everything below. This furious exchange is now in its third consecutive day. It began when Israel carried out a daring strike on 13-month, not specified, against select Iranian facilities, a move intended to be surgical but perceived in Tehran as intolerable aggression. Iran's answer was both swift and merciless. First came swarms of drones, hundreds at a time, buzzing like mechanized locusts toward Israeli radar screens. Then came cruise missiles hugging the Mediterranean coastline. Finally, today, Iran escalated to full-blown barrages of medium and long-range ballistic missiles, the kind designed not simply to wound but to break an adversary's confidence. Tel Aviv, normally a city of cafes and late-night music, is now seized by panic. Reports speak of crowds rushing for bomb shelters, of parents gripping the hands of terrified children as blasts echo in the distance. The intersection of Ibn Gabirol and Kaplan, usually clogged with taxis and scooters, resembles a war zone, strewn with shattered glass and abandoned vehicles. Across the metropolitan area, emergency services are stretched to their limits, triaging injuries that pour in minute by minute. Ramat Gan, just east of Tel Aviv's core, has taken a brutal hit. Whole apartment facades have been sheared off as though sliced with a giant blade. Parking lots are littered with burning metal. In one televised scene, an elderly man, face powdered with dust, wanders amid the wreckage of what used to be his living room, clutching a photograph that survived when everything else did not. Analysts say the incoming missiles specifically targeted Ramat Gan's proximity to the Keria, a dense complex of bunkers, situation rooms, and command posts frequently dubbed Israel's Pentagon. Its location just north of Jalan Kaplan makes it an irresistible bullseye for anyone aiming to decapitate Israeli decision-making. Rumors now swirl around Benjamin Netanyahu's whereabouts. Flight tracking enthusiasts noticed the Wing of Zion, the customized Boeing jet reserved for the Israeli Prime Minister, entering the Athens flight information region a few hours after the heaviest strikes. The aircraft's transponder then flickered off, but not before confirming a route that could land it at a discreet military apron in Greece. Such a destination, neutral and NATO-aligned, yet geographically close to the theater, would allow emergency face-to-face consultations with U.S. officials. While President Trump has so far resisted calls to intervene directly, Israeli media speculate that back-channel talks are underway, perhaps even on Greek soil, to coordinate contingency plans should the conflict widen. All of this carnage has thrust Israel's air defense reputation into an uncomfortable spotlight. A random, marketed as the country's most sophisticated multi-tier shield, was supposed to intercept most of these threats. For years, Israeli officials described a random as weather agnostic, capable of shooting down everything from mortar shells to fast-moving aircraft. Tonight, cafe conversations in Jerusalem and WhatsApp groups nationwide buzz with a single anxious question. If a random is so advanced, why are neighborhoods in flames? The better-known Iron Dome system lies at the heart of a random. Conceived after the 2006 Lebanon War and heavily financed by billions in U.S. aid, Iron Dome arrays Combine X-band radar, a battle management computer, and Tamir interceptors that rocket skyward to meet short-range threats, anything up to roughly 70 kilometers. Israeli officials have long cited an interception rate near 90%. Yet Mohanad Salam of BACKSTABS Doha points out a crucial limitation. Iron Dome was never engineered to tackle the kind of medium-range ballistic and hypersonic weapons that Iran rolled out today. Those travel far faster, follow steeper trajectories, and often maneuver unpredictably during their terminal phase. Exactly the profile that can overwhelm Iron Dome's engagement envelope. Israel does possess additional layers, systems labeled Air 1, Air 3, and Dov Fisling, which in theory extend coverage to higher altitudes and longer ranges. Air 3, for example, can reach targets at 100 kilometers overhead, while Dov Fisling specializes in threats crossing the 20 to 70 kilometer bracket. In rehearsals, these networks overlap like concentric rings, creating a seemingly impenetrable dome. In practice, however, Iran's tactic of saturating defenses with simultaneous barges appears to be working. After 3 relentless days, even Israel's most ardent supporters concede that gaps exist, and that adversaries have studied those gaps with chilling diligence. Tehran, for its part, claims to have injected something even more frightening into the mix, a hypersonic missile. Iranian media outlets tout footage of what they call Haji Qasim, unveiled last May. Engineers boast that it carries a maneuverable re-entry vehicle capable of violent, corkscrew turns at several times the speed of sound, movements designed to confuse radar prediction algorithms and evade interceptor locks. Satellite images of multiple Israeli impact sites reveal crater signatures consistent with an object arriving at extraordinary velocity, lending at least partial credence to those claims. Shortly before dawn, amid the clatter of ambulances and the glow of emergency floodlights, the IDF launched what it described as preemptive precision strikes against components of Iran's nuclear infrastructure. The exact targets remain classified, but analysts believe Israel's goal is to disrupt Iran's missile supply chain and send a message that escalation will be met in kind. Yet these counterblows have not prevented suffering on the home front. Around 300 residents of Tel Aviv and 100 in Ramat Gan have already been relocated to temporary shelters as structural engineers declare entire residential blocks unsafe. Official casualty figures are cautiously released. At least 3 Israelis dead and 70 wounded, 7 of them soldiers. Privately, some hospital administrators suggest the true numbers are higher. Iranian officials, meanwhile, claim they have shot down 3 Israeli F-35 fighters attempting deep strike missions, though no independent source has verified the wreckage. What is certain is that Ben Gurion Airport remains closed, its runways echoed by the roar of scrambled takeoffs and the silence of civilian departures. Airlines worldwide divert flights or scrap them outright. Tourism, once Israel's economic lifeline, has evaporated overnight. Saturday evening, when many Israelis might normally gather for family meals, brought one of the fiercest assaults yet. Missiles thundered into Haifa, igniting fuel storage tanks near the port and sending orange plumes leaping into the dark. Fire crews fought multiple blazes while air defense batteries barked back in futile streaks of tracer light. In Tamra, roughly 20 kilometers southeast of Haifa, an Iranian projectile punched through the roof of a 2-story house, killing a woman inside and injuring 13 others. Medics ferried the wounded past scorched olive trees, the sweet smell of smoke hanging in the night air. Looking ahead, Policymakers on every continent watch with mounting alarm. Energy traders track global oil prices, fearing the Strait of Hormuz could become the next flashpoint. Diplomats race to arrange shuttle talks, yet no side appears ready to blink. On Israeli streets, from the stucco lanes of Jaffa to the hilltop terraces of Safed, ordinary people whisper that the struggle feels different this time, heavier, as though some psychological threshold has been crossed. For now, sirens remain the soundtrack of daily life, and each new explosion redraws the boundaries of what Israelis believed was defendable. Whether Benjamin Netanyahu has truly left the country or simply repositioned for crisis management, whether President Trump will ultimately intervene or maintain his distance, the fact is undeniable. A conflict that once seemed containable has spiraled into a clash whose shock waves are felt far beyond the Middle East. And as night falls yet again, the sense of foreboding is almost tangible, an unwelcome companion to every beating heart from Tehran to Tel Aviv.